times have you told yourself, "and then tomorrow" never came? How many goals have you buried under excuses, waiting for that magical moment when you finally feel ready? The harsh truth is this: that moment never arrives. Readiness is an illusion. Motivation is a liar. And waiting is the fastest way to kill your potential. I'll start tomorrow. The Stoics knew this long before self-help books existed. They taught that life isn't about how you feel, it's about what you do. Action is everything. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Notice that do. Not dream, not wait, not hope. Do. Because without action, wisdom is just theory, and potential is just wasted air. Every day you wake up, you face a choice. Move forward or stay stuck. And the longer you delay, the harder it becomes. That's why the strongest version of you is not the one who waits for inspiration, but the one who takes action, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when the excuses are loud, even when no one is watching. So in this episode, we're going to break down 10 Stoic truths that show why forcing yourself to act every single day is the key to building discipline, confidence, and real success. This is not about hype or empty motivation. It's about building a life that proves itself through action. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, because what you'll learn here won't just inspire you, it will challenge you to move, to act, to live. Action creates motivation. Most people believe the myth that motivation comes first. They think they need to feel ready before they can start working out, start a business, write that book, or finally make that change in their life. They wait for the spark, the lightning bolt of inspiration, the perfect mood to strike. But here's the reality: that spark almost never comes. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. The truth is the opposite of what most people believe. Motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. You don't get moving because you're inspired. You get inspired because you started moving. Think about it. Have you ever forced yourself to go for a run or hit the gym when you didn't feel like it? At the start, every part of you resisted. But 5 minutes in, your blood was pumping, your energy rose, and suddenly you felt alive. That's not motivation magically appearing from nowhere. That's your body and mind responding to action. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed life is about doing what is necessary, not what feels good in the moment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, 'I have to go to work,' as a human being." He didn't say, "Wait until you feel motivated." He said, "Get up and do what's required." Because once you begin, the resistance fades, and the energy to keep going builds. Action shifts your state. It interrupts the loop of procrastination and hesitation. You know that feeling when you're sitting around, overthinking, telling yourself, "I'll start later." The more you wait, the heavier the task feels. The mountain grows in your mind until it feels impossible to climb. But the moment you take the first step, the mountain shrinks. Starting breaks the illusion. Action turns heavy into light, complicated into simple, and someday into today. This is why the hardest part of any task is the beginning, not the middle, not the end, just the start. That's where resistance is strongest, and the only way to kill resistance is to act. Don't think. Don't negotiate. Don't bargain with yourself. Move. Open the book. Write the first sentence. Do one push-up. Make the first call. Once you're in motion, momentum takes over. Your focus sharpens, your energy rises, and your brain rewards you with motivation you didn't have before. Think of motivation like a fire. If you sit around waiting for warmth, you'll freeze. But if you strike the match and build the flame, the warmth comes. Action is that match. Every time you act, you feed the fire. Every time you wait, you let it die. And here's the hidden power in this. Action doesn't just create motivation for the task at hand. It bleeds into every part of your life. Do one disciplined thing in the morning, and suddenly you carry that energy into your work, your mindset, your relationships. Action creates momentum, and momentum is addictive. The more you move, the more you want to keep moving. But most people never experience this because they let their feelings run the show. They say, "I don't feel like it today." But feelings are unstable. They come and go like the weather. If you build your life around them, you'll always be inconsistent. The Stoics taught the opposite. Act according to principles, not moods. Action first, feelings later. And let's be honest, no one ever regrets action. You don't finish a workout and think, "I wish I hadn't done that." You don't finish writing a page of your book and think, "That was pointless." But you do regret the days you stayed in bed, the days you let fear or laziness win, the days you did nothing. Regret comes from inaction, never from action. So the next time you catch yourself waiting to feel ready, stop. Remember this. Action is the cure. Action is the spark. Action is what flips the switch in your brain from lazy to focused, from tired to energized, from stuck to moving. Don't wait for motivation. Don't expect inspiration to knock on your door. Create it with your own two hands by starting right now with what you have. Because in the end, motivation isn't something you find, it's something you generate. And the generator is always action. Discipline over emotion. If there's one rule the Stoics lived by, it's this. Don't let your emotions control your actions. Because here's the truth. If you only move when you feel like it, you'll never get anywhere. Feelings are unstable. One day you wake up energized, ready to conquer the world. The next day you're tired, unmotivated, and every excuse in the book feels louder than your ambition. If your life runs on emotion, you'll always be a slave to your moods. That's why discipline matters more than feelings. Discipline means you do it anyway. You show up whether you're tired, busy, bored, or uninspired. You keep your promises to yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. And that is the foundation of real progress. Think about athletes. Do you really think they wake up every morning feeling excited to train? Most days they probably don't feel like running, lifting, or pushing their limits. But they do it anyway, because they know that discipline, not emotion, creates results. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. Mastering yourself means not letting your emotions be the boss of your life. The problem is, most people give their emotions too much power. They say, "I'm tired, so I won't go to the gym," or "I'm stressed, so I'll skip working on my goals today." They think those small skips don't matter, but over time, those tiny excuses stack up into a wasted life. Discipline is the opposite. Discipline says, "I'm tired, but I'll do something anyway," even if it's less than usual, even if it's just 10 minutes. The point is, you didn't give in to your emotions. You acted, and that action builds strength that feelings can never give you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "If it is endurable, then endure it." Stop complaining. That's the heart of discipline. You don't let discomfort, laziness, or moods control you. You face them, endure them, and do what must be done. Complaints don't build anything. Action does. And here's what's powerful. Discipline actually reshapes your emotions over time. At first, your feelings resist discipline. Your mind screams, "I don't want to do this." But when you push through, something shifts. Your brain starts to associate the action with progress, with pride, with results. Slowly, the resistance weakens, and the action becomes habit. Eventually, what once felt impossible becomes automatic. This is why discipline is freedom. It might sound like restriction. You're forcing yourself, you're limiting your choices. But in reality, discipline liberates you from the chains of mood swings. When you know you can rely on yourself no matter what, you become unstoppable. You don't wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, or the perfect energy. You create consistency in a world that thrives on inconsistency. Think about your own life. How many opportunities have you missed because you were not in the mood? How many workouts skipped, projects delayed, dreams abandoned, all because emotions won the battle? Imagine if you had acted anyway, every time. Where would you be right now? That gap between where you are and where you want to be. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about discipline over emotion. The Stoics didn't deny their emotions. They felt them. They acknowledged them. But they didn't let emotions decide their actions. And that's the difference. Feeling tired, sad, or anxious doesn't mean you stop moving. It just means you carry those feelings with you while you move forward. That's discipline. So here's the challenge. The next time your emotions tell you to stop, do the opposite. Prove to yourself that you are stronger than a feeling. Feelings fade, discipline stays. And every time you choose discipline over emotion, you take one more step toward the life you want. That's the second truth. Real progress doesn't depend on moods or feelings. It's built on daily discipline, on acting no matter how you feel, because in the end, emotions may knock you down, but discipline is what gets you back up and keeps you moving forward. Build self-respect through action. Here's something most people don't realize. The way you see yourself isn't built by what you say, it's built by what you do. You can stand in front of the mirror every morning and repeat affirmations like, "I'm confident, I'm strong, I'm disciplined." But if your actions don't back it up, deep down, you know it's a lie. Real confidence, real self-respect is earned through action, not words. Think about it. Every time you promise yourself you'll do something, wake up early, hit the gym, finish that task, study for an hour, and then you actually follow through, something powerful happens inside you. You send a signal to your brain, "I can trust myself." That's self-respect. And like a muscle, it grows stronger with each repetition. On the flip side, every time you break a promise to yourself, you chip away at that trust. You say you'll start a diet, but you quit after 2 days. You say you'll save money, but you spend it on something pointless. You say you'll work on your dreams, but you end up scrolling for hours. Each time a small voice inside whispers, "See? You can't rely on yourself." Over time, that voice becomes louder and your confidence shrinks. The Stoics believed in living with integrity, not just in public, but in private, when no one is watching. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. But with yourself, never be content with failure to act." What he meant was simple. The world's opinion doesn't matter. What matters is whether you respect yourself, and that respect comes only from action. Let's be real. Self-respect isn't built in grand moments. It's built in small daily choices. It's built when you push through the last rep at the gym, When you sit down to write, even though you'd rather watch TV. When you save money instead of wasting it on things you don't need. When you do the uncomfortable thing you promised yourself you would. Each action is a brick, and brick by brick you build a foundation of trust in yourself that no one can take away. And here's the secret. When you respect yourself, you stop begging for respect from others. You stop chasing approval because you already have the one approval that matters, your own. People can sense that. They see the way you carry yourself, the quiet confidence of someone who knows they can rely on themselves. That's magnetic. That's real confidence, not fake bravado, not empty words. Think about how most people try to build self-esteem. They look for compliments. They compare themselves to others. They buy things to look successful. But none of that works because deep down they know the truth. They haven't kept their promises to themselves. They haven't done the work. That's why they still feel empty. Because self-respect can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It has to be earned. Staying consistent with your actions doesn't just change how you feel. It changes your identity. You stop being someone trying to be disciplined, and you become someone who acts with discipline. You stop being someone who hopes to succeed, and you become someone who takes steps towards success daily. Your actions define you far louder than your words ever could. So ask yourself right now, are your daily actions making you respect yourself more or less? Every choice moves you in one direction or the other. There's no neutral ground. You're either building trust with yourself or breaking it. The good news is you can start small. You don't have to climb a mountain tomorrow. Start with one promise today. Keep it, then build another. Over time, those small wins compound, and before you know it, you've rebuilt your entire relationship with yourself. That's the third truth. Self-respect doesn't come from affirmations or outside praise. It comes from action. From keeping promises to yourself over and over until you no longer doubt your own word. And when you reach that point, you carry a confidence no one can shake, because it's built on the unbreakable foundation of your own actions. Consistency over intensity. Here's a trap so many people fall into. They think success comes from one big push, one burst of effort, one moment of inspiration that changes everything. They say, "This Monday, I'll start working out every day." Or, "This week, I'm going to grind harder than ever." And for a few days, maybe even a couple of weeks, they go all in, waking up early, pushing hard, burning with motivation. But then what happens? The fire dies. The routine collapses. And they're right back where they started, except now they feel even worse, because they've proven to themselves again that they can't keep it up. The truth is, intensity is overrated. Anyone can push hard for a short time. What separates the successful from the stuck is not intensity, it's consistency. It's the person who shows up every single day, even when they're not in the mood. The one who chips away at their goal, one action at a time. The one who stacks small wins until they turn into massive results. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Don't waste the rest of your life wondering what a good man is. Be one." Notice how simple that is. Don't dream about it. Don't fantasize about it. Don't talk about it. Live it. Daily. That's consistency. Greatness isn't built in dramatic bursts. It's forged in the small, ordinary actions repeated so many times, they transform into something extraordinary. Think about fitness. The person who works out moderately 3 times a week for years will be in far better shape than the one who kills themselves in the gym for 2 months and then quits. Think about money. The person who saves and invests a little bit consistently ends up wealthier than the one who throws all their cash into some random hustle and burns out. Think about learning. Reading 10 pages a day builds more knowledge over time than cramming hundreds of pages once and forgetting most of it. Consistency compounds. It's like interest on your habits. Small deposits every day grow into something massive over time. That's why it's far more powerful to commit to small, steady actions than to chase the fantasy of sudden transformation. But here's the problem. Our emotions love intensity. Intensity feels exciting. It feels dramatic. It gives us a temporary high, but it's unsustainable. Life will always throw obstacles, low energy days, stress, and distractions your way. If you rely on intensity, you'll collapse the moment life gets in the way. But if you build consistency, you'll keep moving no matter what, slowly, steadily, relentlessly. Consistency also builds identity. Every time you show up, even in small ways, you cast a vote for the kind of person you want to be. One workout doesn't make you fit, but it makes you the type of person who doesn't quit. One page of writing doesn't finish a book, but it makes you the type of person who writes. These small votes, repeated daily, eventually add up to a new identity. And once your identity changes, your life changes. And here's the paradox. Consistency is harder at the start, but easier in the long run. Intensity is easier at the start, but impossible in the long run. Consistency requires patience. It requires you to lower your expectations of what can be done in a single day, but raise your expectations of what can be done in a year. It's about trading the short-term thrill for the long-term transformation. So the next time you feel the urge to go all in with a burst of effort, stop and ask, can I sustain this for a year? If the answer is no, scale it back. Find the level of action you can repeat, not just for a week, but for a lifetime. Because it's the steady drumbeat, not the one-time explosion, that creates unstoppable momentum. That's the fourth truth. Greatness doesn't come from rare bursts of intensity. It comes from consistent action, repeated daily, that compounds into extraordinary results over time. Intensity might get you started, but consistency is what keeps you going. And in the end, it's what wins. Pain is growth. Most people spend their lives running from pain. They avoid discomfort, they avoid struggle, they avoid anything that feels hard. They want the rewards without the process, the results without the sacrifice, the glory without the grind. But here's the truth the Stoics understood. Pain isn't your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain is the price of growth. Think about your body. If you go to the gym and lift weights, what happens? Your muscles tear, they burn, they ache. But that pain isn't destruction, it's creation. It's the signal that your body is rebuilding itself stronger than before. Without that discomfort, there's no growth. The same rule applies to your mind, your discipline, and your character. Every time you step into discomfort, whether it's having a hard conversation, facing rejection, or pushing yourself to keep going when you're tired, you're building resilience. You're toughening your spirit in ways comfort never could. The Stoics lived by this. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." He wasn't just being poetic, he was giving us a blueprint. Struggle is the training ground. The pain you face today is the strength you'll carry tomorrow. Without tests, without obstacles, you stay soft. And life doesn't reward softness, it crushes it. But here's the problem. We've been conditioned to fear pain. From childhood, we're taught to avoid it, to seek comfort, to chase ease. And that's why so many people feel weak, anxious, and unfulfilled. They never built the calluses that come only from walking through difficulty. They hide from pain, not realizing that the more you run from it, the weaker you become. When you're single, this lesson becomes even more real. You don't have someone to lean on when things get tough. You don't have anyone to buffer you from the storms. And while that might feel scary, it's actually your greatest advantage, because it forces you to develop the toughness to stand alone. Every challenge becomes a chance to grow. Every lonely night, every setback, every doubt, it's all training. It's you becoming someone who can carry your own weight. The truth is, pain builds pride. Not the fake kind of pride that comes from showing off, but the deep kind that comes from knowing you endured, you survived, you overcame. Every scar becomes a reminder. I didn't quit. I didn't break. I got stronger. That's confidence no motivational quote can give you. It's earned in the fire. And here's the paradox. Once you stop fearing pain, life actually gets easier. Not because the challenges go away, but because you've learned how to face them. What used to crush you now feels like training. What used to scare you now excites you. You start looking at discomfort as proof that you're growing, not proof that you're failing. Think about the alternative. If you avoid pain, you avoid growth. If you avoid growth, you stay the same. And if you stay the same, life passes you by while you wonder why nothing changes. Comfort is the real trap, not pain. Comfort lulls you into weakness, keeps you stuck, and makes you fragile. Pain builds strength, freedom, and resilience. The Stoics didn't glorify suffering for its own sake. They weren't saying, go look for misery. What they taught was this: when pain shows up, don't run. Embrace it, learn from it. Let it harden you, sharpen you, and prepare you. Because a life without pain is a life without progress. So the next time you feel discomfort, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, don't ask, how can I escape this? Ask instead, what is this teaching me? What strength am I building right now? Because every rep of pain is a rep of growth. That's the fifth truth. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is growth. And the sooner you stop running from it and start embracing it, the sooner you'll unlock the strength that most people never find. Don't depend on motivation. Here's a hard truth. Motivation is unreliable. It shows up when it wants, disappears when you need it most, and if you build your life around it, you'll stay stuck forever. Motivation is like the weather, sometimes sunny, sometimes stormy, and completely out of your control. If you only act when motivation is high, your progress will always be unstable. Think about how many people wait for the perfect mood. They say, I'll start when I feel inspired. I'll work when the timing feels right. And then weeks, months, even years pass, and nothing changes. Why? Because they were waiting for a feeling instead of building a system. The Stoics would have called that foolish. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Motivation is an outside event. It comes and goes. Your power lies in controlling what you do, not what you feel. This is why discipline beats motivation every time. Discipline says, I'll act whether I feel like it or not. And the beauty of discipline is that it doesn't care about moods. It's built on commitment, not feelings. You can wake up tired, you can feel lazy, you can hate every second of it, but if you're disciplined, you still act. That's where real growth comes from. Motivation is like a spark. It can start the fire, but it can't keep it burning. Systems and routines are the logs that keep the fire alive. If you wake up every day waiting for inspiration, you'll freeze. But if you build a routine, something automatic, something you do without overthinking, you'll create momentum that doesn't depend on emotions. Look at successful people in any field: athletes, artists, entrepreneurs. They don't always feel motivated. In fact, most of them will tell you they rarely feel motivated. What they rely on are systems. A runner doesn't ask, "Do I feel like running today?" They lace up their shoes because it's part of who they are. A writer doesn't wait for inspiration to strike. They sit down and write, even if the words come slowly. A business owner doesn't wait for the perfect mood. They show up every day because the business depends on it. And here's the secret. Once you stop depending on motivation, you actually become more consistent. And that consistency produces results. And those results create confidence. And confidence becomes the fuel that keeps you going even stronger than motivation ever could. In other words, discipline creates a cycle that motivation can't. But most people never get there because they're addicted to the high of motivation. They want the feeling before they take the step. That's backwards. Action comes first. Feelings come later. When you build systems, you don't need the feeling. You just follow the structure. And that structure sets you free. Here's an example. Imagine you want to get fit. If you wait to feel motivated, you'll probably work out once or twice, then stop. But if you set a routine, say you go to the gym every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 7 a.m., you don't give yourself room to negotiate. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" You just go. And over time it becomes automatic. That's the power of systems. The Stoics understood this. They lived by principles, not moods. They built their lives around daily practices that kept them steady no matter how they felt. And that's why their wisdom has lasted for centuries. It wasn't based on temporary inspiration. It was based on unshakable action. So here's the challenge. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop chasing the perfect mood. Build systems, build routines, build discipline, because when motivation disappears, and it always will, your systems will keep you moving. That's the sixth truth. Don't depend on motivation. Depend on discipline. Depend on structure. Depend on yourself. Because the person who acts without motivation will always outlast the person who waits for it. Destroy the all-or-nothing trap. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is this: if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all. That's the all-or-nothing trap. It kills more dreams than failure ever could. People wait for the perfect timing, the perfect conditions, the perfect plan, and because life is never perfect, they end up doing nothing. Think about how many times you've said, "I'll start when things calm down. I'll start when I have more money. I'll start when I have more time." But guess what? Life never calms down. There will always be bills, stress, work, distractions. If you wait for everything to line up, you'll wait forever. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." Translation: stop waiting, start now. Here's the truth. Progress is messy. Growth is messy. Success is built on imperfect action, not flawless plans. Waiting for all usually gives you nothing. But when you accept imperfection and move anyway, you gain momentum. That momentum matters more than perfection ever will. Look at fitness. People say, "If I can't work out for an hour, I'll skip it." Wrong mindset. 10 minutes is better than 0. A short walk is better than sitting on the couch. A half workout still builds progress. Or think about goals. People say, "If I can't write a full chapter, I won't write at all." That's a trap. Write one page. Write one paragraph. Even one sentence moves you forward. Something is always better than nothing. The all-or-nothing mindset comes from pride. Deep down, people don't want to look weak, slow, or imperfect. So instead of risking failure, they choose inaction. But here's the irony. By avoiding imperfect effort, they guarantee failure. The Stoics would laugh at this. Epictetus said, "First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." In the same way, first take small action, then worry about perfecting it later. Consistency destroys the all-or-nothing trap. Small, steady actions compound into massive results. $1 saved every day becomes thousands. One push-up a day becomes strength. One honest conversation a day changes relationships. Waiting for the perfect moment creates nothing. Acting now, even imperfectly, creates everything. And here's the best part. Small actions build confidence. When you prove to yourself you can do something, even at a small level, your brain says, "I can handle this." That confidence fuels the next step and the next, until you're moving faster than you thought possible. Meanwhile, the person still waiting for all is stuck with nothing but excuses. Think about this. History isn't written by people who waited for perfect conditions. It's written by people who started where they were, with what they had. The Stoics, the thinkers, the leaders, they didn't wait for comfort. They acted in the middle of war, chaos, uncertainty, and because they acted, their ideas outlived them. So destroy the trap. Stop demanding perfection before you begin. Don't say, "I'll start when I can do it all." Say, "I'll start with what I can, today, even if it's small, even if it feels imperfect, because something, repeated daily, builds a life. Nothing builds regret." That's the seventh truth. The all-or-nothing mindset is an illusion. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about movement. Every step counts, every small effort compounds, and if you keep moving, even in tiny ways, one day you'll look back and realize those imperfect steps built something extraordinary. Action builds identity. At first, forcing yourself to act feels uncomfortable. You resist, you procrastinate, you tell yourself, "This isn't me, I'm just not disciplined." But here's the truth most people don't realize. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. And over time, those votes add up. Action builds identity. Think about it. If you show up to the gym, even for a short workout, you're casting a vote for being someone who takes care of their body. If you sit down to write one page, you're casting a vote for being a writer. If you wake up early and work on your goals before the world wakes up, you're casting a vote for being someone who values discipline. Each action is small, but repeated daily. They shape the story you tell yourself about who you are. The problem is, most people let inaction define their identity. They say, "I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, I'm just not that type of person." But the truth is, you're not born lazy or disciplined. You become lazy or disciplined based on the actions you repeat. The Stoics knew this. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, identity doesn't come from talking, it comes from doing. Here's the power in this. Once you start stacking actions that align with the person you want to be, your self-image changes. You no longer say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You say, "I am disciplined." You no longer say, "I'm hoping to be confident." You say, "I am confident because I've proven it to myself." Action rewires your identity far deeper than words or thoughts ever could. And identity is everything. Because once your identity shifts, your actions become automatic. For example, if you only try to quit smoking, you'll always battle temptation. But if your identity shifts to "I am not a smoker," every cigarette becomes inconsistent with who you are. Identity creates guardrails. It makes good actions easier and bad actions harder. This is why the Stoics focused so much on daily practice. They knew you become what you repeatedly do. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning to act with courage, justice, and discipline. Not because he wanted to sound wise, but because every action either aligned him with his philosophy or pulled him away from it. Identity is built in the trenches of daily living, not in abstract ideas. Think about your own life. Who do you want to be? Strong, disciplined, creative, focused. Then ask yourself, what small action today proves that? Because until you take the action, it's just talk. And the longer you delay, the more you reinforce the identity of someone who doesn't follow through. The good news is, you don't need massive actions to start shifting your identity. Small wins are enough. Doing 10 push-ups when you don't feel like it, reading 1 page instead of scrolling, spending 5 minutes meditating instead of wasting the morning. Each of these is a vote for your future self, and the more votes you stack, the more undeniable your new identity becomes. And here's the beautiful paradox. At first, action feels forced, but once your identity shifts, action feels natural. You don't think, I should go to the gym. You think, I'm the kind of person who trains. You don't think, I should write. You think, I'm a writer, so I write. The struggle fades because your identity now matches your behavior. So don't underestimate small actions. They are not just tasks. They are bricks. Bricks that build the house of who you are. Bricks that, over time, create an unshakable identity. That's the 8th truth. Action builds identity. You're not someone waiting to become. You're someone who is becoming right now, with every single choice you make. And the more your actions align with the person you want to be, the faster that identity locks in. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you already are who you've been trying to become. Respect through structure. One of the biggest reasons people don't respect themselves or get respect from others is because their lives are chaotic. No order, no rhythm, no structure. They wake up whenever, eat whenever, work whenever, and wonder why nothing changes. But here's the truth. Without structure, your life becomes reactive. You're always responding to whatever's happening around you instead of directing your own path. And people who live that way don't build respect. They build excuses. Structure, on the other hand, creates respect. When you set routines and stick to them, you prove to yourself that your time matters, your goals matter, and your word matters. You're not just drifting through life, you're building it with intention. The Stoics lived like this. Their philosophy wasn't just ideas, it was practice, daily routines, daily disciplines. Marcus Aurelius didn't just write his thoughts in meditations for fun. He wrote them as reminders, as structure for his mind, so he wouldn't lose focus in the chaos of ruling an empire. Think about it. When your life has structure, you don't waste energy deciding what to do every moment. You already know. If your mornings are for training, then when the alarm rings, you train. If your evenings are for reading, then when the sun sets, you pick up a book. Structure removes the space for excuses. And that makes your actions stronger, your results faster, and your confidence unshakable. Most people think structure is restriction. They say, I don't want a schedule, I want freedom. But the irony is this: without structure, you're not free. You're a slave to impulses. You'll spend your day chasing distractions, giving in to moods, and wasting time. With structure, you actually gain freedom, because the important things are already locked in. You don't have to wonder if you'll work out today. You already decided. You don't have to wonder if you'll make progress on your goals. It's built into your routine. That's real freedom, knowing your life is moving forward no matter what. And here's the thing, structure doesn't just make you respect yourself, it makes others respect you too. People notice when you're disciplined. They notice when you keep your word, when you value your time, when you don't bend for every distraction. It signals strength, it signals reliability, and that's attractive, whether in friendships, business, or relationships, because deep down, everyone respects someone who respects themselves. The Stoics would call this living in accordance with nature. Nature has order, seasons, cycles, rhythms. Without order, there's chaos, and chaos destroys. When you create structure in your life, you align yourself with that natural order. You stop fighting the day like it's random and start shaping it with purpose. So how do you build structure? Start small. Decide what time you'll wake up and stick to it. Decide one habit you'll do every day, exercise, writing, meditation, and protect it like it's sacred. Build anchors into your day that never move, no matter what. Over time, those anchors expand into a full structure, and that structure becomes the skeleton of your success. Think about it like a house. Without structure, walls collapse, the roof caves in, everything falls apart. With structure, everything holds steady. Your life is the same. If it has no framework, it falls apart under pressure. With a framework, you can handle storms. And here's the payoff. Once you live with structure, you start to trust yourself more. You know that even if today isn't perfect, you'll still show up for what matters. That trust becomes self-respect. And when you respect yourself, the world follows. That's the ninth truth. Respect comes through structure, not through talk, not through big dreams, but through daily routines that prove you mean what you say. Structure is not your enemy, it's your foundation. Build it, and you'll build a life worth respecting. Success is built in silence. Most people think success is loud. They imagine big announcements, dramatic breakthroughs, viral moments where the world finally notices them. They want applause, recognition, and instant results. But that's not how real success works. Real success is quiet. It's built in the shadows, in the hours no one sees, in the small repeated actions that look ordinary but eventually add up to something extraordinary. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't chase attention or recognition. They chased mastery. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, don't talk about what you're going to do. Do it. Don't brag about the life you want to build. Build it. True strength, true achievement, doesn't need noise. It needs consistency. Think about nature. A tree doesn't announce its growth. It grows in silence, little by little, year after year, until one day it's massive and unshakable. That's what success looks like. It's invisible in the beginning, slow in the middle, and undeniable at the end. But most people quit too soon because they expect results right away. They dig up the seed after a week to see if it's growing. They want proof before they've given it time. But success doesn't work on your timeline. It works on the timeline of discipline. When you build in silence, you free yourself from the need for validation. You don't need to post every move online. You don't need people to clap for you. You don't need permission to keep going. You're not chasing likes. You're chasing results. And that makes you dangerous, because while everyone else is busy talking, you're busy doing. Think about athletes again. The highlight reel you see on TV is the product of thousands of silent hours in the gym. Think about writers. The book you admire came from lonely nights at a desk, typing in silence. Think about entrepreneurs. The company you see today was built on endless quiet sacrifices, risks, and failures no one celebrated. Success is built in silence and revealed only when it's ready. And here's the beauty of working in silence. It protects you from the noise of the world. When you talk too much about your plans, you invite opinions, doubts, and distractions. People will project their fears onto you, telling you why it won't work. But when you keep your head down and focus on the work, no one can interfere. By the time they notice, it's too late. Your results are already undeniable. The Stoics lived this principle. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet his writings weren't public speeches meant for fame. They were private notes, reminders to himself, written in silence. And centuries later, those silent words still echo louder than the noise of his entire empire. That's the power of quiet work. Success in silence also builds humility. When you achieve something without constant applause, you learn to value the process, not just the recognition. You respect the grind itself, and that humility keeps you steady, even as your results grow, because success built on noise can vanish as quickly as it appears, but success built on silence lasts, because it's rooted in discipline, not attention. So ask yourself, are you more focused on being seen or on actually building? Do you want applause today or results tomorrow? Because you can't have both. If you want lasting success, you have to fall in love with the quiet, the unseen hours, the daily grind no one claps for. That's the 10th truth. Success is not built in noise, but in silence, in the hidden work, the steady routines, the quiet sacrifices that compound into greatness. So stop waiting for the world to notice you. Stop announcing your plans. Put your head down, do the work, and let your results speak for themselves. So here's the bottom line. Forcing yourself to take action every single day isn't just about hitting goals. It's about building the kind of life you can actually be proud of. The Stoics knew this. They knew that progress doesn't come from waiting, wishing, or chasing motivation. It comes from action, daily, repeated, unshakable action.